The scream tore through the afternoon like a blade through silk. Ava's hands froze. Champagne spilling across white linen. Her eyes snapped to table 7. An elegant woman in pearls clutched her throat, face draining of color. Silent. Choking. Someone help her. A man shouted. The other waiters stood frozen. The manager fumbled with his phone, but Ava was already running. Her worn sneakers pounded across marble floors. She dropped to her knees beside the woman, hands moving with practiced precision. 1 thrust, 2, 3. The obstruction flew free. The woman gasped, color flooding back. Tears streamed down her face. The restaurant erupted in relieved applause, but Ava barely heard it. She was watching the woman's hands, moving in patterns she recognized instantly. "Thank you," the woman signed, fingers trembling. "You saved my life." Ava's throat tightened. "You're safe now?" She signed back, hands steady despite her racing heart. The woman's eyes went wide. In this exclusive restaurant where Ava had worked for 3 years, where staff mocked her thrift store dresses, where customers looked through her like glass, this stranger saw her. Really saw her. "Mom." The voice cut through the crowd like thunder, deep, commanding. Ava looked up and forgot how to breathe. He was tall, powerfully built. A suit that cost more than her yearly rent. Black hair, sharp jawline, carefully groomed beard. But his eyes stopped her cold. Dark, intense, scanning everything with the precision of a man who controlled rooms just by entering them. Those eyes found his mother. Then Ava, still kneeling on the floor. "What did you do?" Ace in every syllable. Ava stood slowly, feeling every judgmental stare from her co-workers. "Your mother was choking. I performed the Heimlich maneuver. She was choking?" His face went pale. "And you saved her life," the manager interrupted smoothly, suddenly appearing as if he'd been helpful all along. "Our staff is highly trained, Mr. Whitmore." Whitmore. The name hit Ava like a physical blow. James Whitmore, billionaire tech entrepreneur. She'd seen his face on magazines in the break room. Heard the other waiters gossip about his rare visits to the Laurel. James ignored the manager completely. He moved to his mother, signing rapidly, hands fluid and practiced. Ava watched their silent conversation, catching fragments. "Are you okay? What happened? Did she hurt you?" His mother shook her head firmly. She signed back with emphatic gestures. And James's expression shifted, suspicion melting into something unreadable. He turned back to Ava. "You know sign language, not a question." "A challenge? Yes. Why?" The word carried weight, searching for her angle, her ulterior motive. "Because communication shouldn't have barriers," Ava said simply. "And because I wanted to." Something flickered in his eyes. His mother, Eleanor, Ava would learn later, touched his arm. "Signed something private." James nodded slowly. "Never breaking eye contact. What's your name?" "Ava." She hesitated. "Just Ava. No family name to claim. No history worth sharing. Just a girl who'd learned to survive alone." "Just Ava," he repeated. The corner of his mouth lifted. Not quite a smile. Something more dangerous. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a business card. "I need to speak with you tomorrow noon." Not a request. A summons. Ava took the card. Their fingers brushed for half a second. Electricity shot up her arm. Unexpected, unwelcome. "I work tomorrow, not anymore." James turned to the manager who'd been hovering like a vulture. "She's taking the day off, paid. Unless you have a problem with the woman who just saved my mother's life." The manager's face cycled through shades of red. "Of course not, Mr. Whitmore, whatever you need." James helped Eleanor stand, supporting her with surprising gentleness. As they moved toward the door, Eleanor looked back. She signed one more thing, smile warm and genuine. "Thank you, sweet girl. You're an angel." Then they were gone. Ava stood in the middle of the Laurel holding a business card that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Her co-workers stared with new expressions, confusion, envy, hatred. "Well," Darcy sneered, the head waitress who'd made Ava's life miserable for 3 years. "Looks like the charity case finally caught herself a rich fish." Ava didn't respond. She stared at the card, at the embossed letters spelling out an address she'd never be able to afford visiting. Something had shifted. She could feel it like the moment before a storm breaks. Electric, inevitable, terrifying. Tomorrow at noon. Her life was going to change forever. She just didn't know how much. The address led to a building Ava had only seen in magazines, Pacific Heights. Glass and steel rising into the morning sky like a monument to wealth she'd never touch. The doorman looked at her worn jacket, her scuffed shoes, and his expression said everything. Deliveries are in the back. I'm not delivering anything. Ava held up the business card, hand steady despite her nerves. James Whitmore is expecting me. The doorman's eyebrows shot up. He made a call, listened, then stepped aside with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. 23rd floor, penthouse. Of course it was the penthouse. The elevator was lined with mirrors. Ava avoided looking at herself, at the girl who didn't belong here. She focused on breathing, on why she'd come. The doors opened directly into the apartment. No, not an apartment, a palace. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. Furniture that belonged in museums. And standing by those windows, silhouetted against the light, James. He turned. Same dark eyes, same commanding presence. But something was different in daylight. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept. You came. His voice carried surprise. You summoned me, Ava said. People don't usually say no to billionaires. A flicker of something crossed his face. Amusement, respect, most people don't. But I had a feeling you weren't most people. He gestured to a chair. Ava sat, feeling the leather beneath her, soft and expensive. James remained standing, studying her with an intensity that made her want to look away. She didn't. Why did you learn sign language? He asked abruptly. Ava blinked at the directness. I told you yesterday. Communication shouldn't. That's the rehearsed answer. James crossed his arms. I want the real one. For a moment, Ava considered lying. Giving him something simple, safe. But those dark eyes saw too much. I was 7, she said quietly. At the group home, there was a girl, maybe 5 years old, deaf. She'd cry every night because no one understood her. The staff didn't have time to learn. The other kids didn't care. Ava's hands clenched. So I learned. Took me 6 months with library books. By the time I could sign properly, she'd already been adopted. I never got to use it with her. Silence filled the space between them. James's expression had changed. The suspicion was still there. But something else now. Something softer. My mother became deaf at 40, he said finally. Genetic condition, progressive. By the time I was 16, she couldn't hear anything. His jaw tightened. Most of my so-called friends stopped inviting her places. Too difficult. Too awkward. They smiled to her face and pitied her behind her back. That's why you were suspicious yesterday, Ava realized. You thought I had an agenda. Everyone has an agenda. James moved closer, stopped a few feet away. Yesterday, a complete stranger saved my mother's life. A stranger who happens to know sign language, who happens to work at the restaurant where we were dining. He paused. Coincidences like that don't exist in my world. Ava stood, anger flashing hot. You think I staged that? You think I made your mother choke? No. James's voice was quiet, certain. I had security review the footage. You were across the room when it happened. You ran before anyone else moved. Your reaction was genuine. Then why am I here? Because I need to understand you. James stepped closer still, close enough that Ava could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. In my world, kindness always comes with a price tag. But you asked for nothing, expected nothing. You just helped. That's what decent people do, Ava said. Decent people are rare. His gaze held hers. Especially in my world. The air between them felt charged, electric. Ava's heart raced for reasons that had nothing to do with nervousness. Your mother, she said, breaking the moment. Is she okay? James's face softened immediately. She's fine, resting, but she hasn't stopped talking about you. He pulled out his phone, showed Ava a message. She wants to meet you properly. Thank you herself, Ava read the text, and her throat tightened. Eleanor's words were warm, motherly, everything Ava had never had. I'd like that, she whispered. Good. James pocketed the phone. Because she's in the next room. And she's been waiting since this morning. Eleanor Whitmore was waiting in a sunlit room filled with books. She sat by the window, morning light catching the silver in her hair. When she saw Ava, her entire face transformed. Joy, pure and unfiltered. She stood, arms already opening. Ava found herself pulled into an embrace that smelled like lavender and warmth. Like everything she'd imagined a mother's hug would feel like. Her eyes stung with unexpected tears. Eleanor pulled back, hands moving in fluid signs. "I've been waiting to properly thank you." "You don't need to thank me," Ava signed back. Anyone would have done the same, but they didn't. Eleanor's hands were emphatic. 20 people in that restaurant. Only you moved. Only you cared enough to act. James stood in the doorway watching them. His expression was unreadable, but something flickered in his eyes when he saw his mother's happiness. Eleanor gestured for Ava to sit. They settled on a cream-colored sofa that probably cost more than Ava's yearly rent. Eleanor picked up a notebook, began writing in flowing script. She showed it to Ava. "James told me you learned sign language for a little girl you never got to help. That breaks my heart and makes me admire you even more." Ava's throat tightened. I knew what it felt like. To not be understood. Eleanor's eyes softened with recognition. She wrote again. "You grew up in foster care?" Ava nodded. No point hiding it. People like the Whitmores had resources to learn everything anyway. No family. Eleanor's hand touched Ava's gently. "None that wanted me." The words came out flat, factual. Ava had learned long ago not to attach emotion to that truth. But Eleanor's face crumpled with sympathy. "And something else. Determination," she wrote rapidly. "Then it's decided. You'll have lunch with us. Every Sunday. Starting this week." Ava blinked. What?" "My mother doesn't take no for an answer," James said from the doorway. His tone was amused. "Trust me, I've tried for 35 years. Eleanor shot her son a look, then turned back to Ava. Her hands moved with maternal firmness. "You saved my life. The least I can do is feed you once a week. Besides," she smiled, "I like you, and I don't like many people." "That's true," James confirmed. "She barely tolerates me." Eleanor threw a pillow at him. He caught it with a grin that transformed his entire face. Made him look younger, almost carefree. Ava felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't what she'd expected. Not the coldness she'd imagined from wealthy people. Not the transactional kindness that expected something in return. This felt real. "I work Sundays," Ava said weakly. "At the restaurant." "Not anymore." James's voice was casual. "Too casual. I bought the Laurel this morning." "You're officially on a different schedule." Ava's head snapped up. "You, what?" "The owner's been wanting to sell for months. I made him an offer." James shrugged like he'd bought a coffee, not an entire restaurant. "Consider it a thank you gift. To my mother. Not you, but the way he said it. The way he wouldn't quite meet her eyes." Told Ava everything. Eleanor was watching them both with a knowing smile. "You can't just buy a restaurant because—" Ava started. "I can do whatever I want," James interrupted. "That's the benefit of having too much money." He moved into the room, hands in his pockets. "But if it makes you feel better, think of it as a business investment. The Laurel has potential. It just needed better management. And a better schedule for certain employees." Ava challenged. That too, their eyes locked. That electric current again. Stronger now. Undeniable. Eleanor's hands moved, breaking the moment. "So it's settled. Sunday lunch, this week. I'll have the chef prepare something special," Ava wanted to argue, to maintain the boundaries between her world and theirs. But Eleanor's eyes held such hope, such genuine warmth. "Okay," Ava whispered. "Sunday lunch." Eleanor clapped her hands together, delighted. She stood, signed something to James that made his jaw tighten. Then she kissed Ava's cheek, and left the room with a smile that suggested she knew exactly what she was doing, leaving Ava alone with James. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken things. "She likes you," James said finally. "She doesn't like anyone this quickly. I like her too." Ava stood, suddenly needing distance. She's wonderful. She is." James's voice was soft. "And she's been lonely. Since my father died 5 years ago. She's pulled away from people. But with you," he shook his head, "I haven't seen her smile like that in years." "Thank you," Ava said, turning toward the door. "For the job schedule change. You didn't have to do that." "I know." James moved closer, just close enough that she could feel the heat of him. But my mother wants you at Sunday lunch. And what Eleanor Whitmore wants. She gets. Is that where you learned it? Ava asked, being so controlling. His lips curved, almost a smile. Careful. That almost sounded like you're not afraid of me. Should I be? Most people are. I'm not most people. Ava echoed his words from earlier. You said so yourself. Something flashed in James's eyes. Surprise, interest. Something darker that made Ava's pulse quicken. No, he said quietly. You're not, the moment stretched. Pulled taut like a wire about to snap. Then James stepped back, breaking whatever spell had formed between them. I'll have my driver take you home. I can take the bus. Ava. Her name on his lips sent a shiver down her spine. Let me do this one thing without arguing. She wanted to refuse. To maintain her independence. But the exhaustion of always fighting, always proving she didn't need help, suddenly felt overwhelming. Okay, she whispered. James nodded. He walked her to the elevator. Stood close as they waited. When the doors opened, he held them with one hand. Sunday, he said. 1 o'clock. Don't be late. My mother will send a search party. I'll be here. Good. His dark eyes held hers for one more moment. And Ava? Wear whatever you want. You don't need to impress anyone. You already did that. The doors closed before she could respond. The week passed in a blur. Darcy and the other waiters treated Ava differently now. Not with respect, but with resentful distance. They knew about the schedule change, about James buying the restaurant. The whispers followed her everywhere. She's sleeping with him. Gold digger. Poor little orphan girl finally found her meal ticket. Ava ignored them. She'd heard worse in her life, but it still hurt. The casual cruelty of people who'd never known real struggle. Friday night, she worked a double shift. Exhausted, she was wiping down tables when the new manager approached. Not the old one. He'd been restructured out of his position. Miss Ava? The new manager was younger, kinder. Mr. Whitmore left something for you. In the office, her heart skipped. What is it? I'm not at liberty to say, but you might want to look. Ava walked to the office on shaking legs. On the desk sat a box. Simple, elegant, a note on top in bold handwriting. For Sunday. She opened it slowly. And her breath caught a dress. Deep emerald green. Silk that flowed like water through her fingers. The kind of dress she'd seen in store windows but never dreamed of touching. No price tag. But Ava knew it cost more than she made in 3 months. She should return it. Should tell James she couldn't accept gifts like this. But her fingers traced the fabric, and she imagined wearing it. Imagined the way he might look at her. She closed the box quickly. Dangerous thoughts, but she took it home anyway. Sunday arrived too fast and too slow. Ava stood in front of her bathroom mirror, wearing the emerald dress. It fit perfectly, like it had been made for her, which it probably had been. James seemed like the type to have people measured without them knowing. She'd pulled her dark hair into a simple twist. No jewelry. She didn't own any. But somehow the dress made her look like she belonged in places like penthouse apartments, like she belonged in James Whitmore's world. The thought terrified her. The driver arrived at 12:30. Same black car from before, same professional silence. But when he opened the door to let her out, he smiled. You look lovely, miss. Thank you, Ava whispered. The doorman recognized her this time. He held the door with a respectful nod. Good afternoon, Miss Ava. They're expecting you. The elevator ride felt longer this time. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was just lunch, just a thank you from a grateful mother. So why did it feel like everything was about to change? The elevator doors opened. James stood there waiting. He wore a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Dark jeans. No suit today, somehow. He looked even more dangerous this way, real, human. His eyes met hers. And stopped. He went very still. His gaze traveled from her face to the dress, and something in his expression shifted. Heat, raw and unmistakable. Ava, he said. His voice was rough. You look... The dress fits, she said quickly. Too quickly. Thank you. You didn't have to... Yes, James interrupted. I did. Eleanor appeared in the doorway before the silence could stretch too long. Her face lit up when she saw Ava. She rushed forward, hands already moving. You look absolutely beautiful. That color, it's perfect on you. Ava felt her cheeks warm. Your son has good taste. Eleanor's eyes sparkled with mischief. She glanced at James, then back to Ava. Her hands moved deliberately. Oh, my son has excellent taste. In many things, James cleared his throat. Mother, lunch? Eleanor laughed. A silent, joyful sound that shook her shoulders. She linked her arm through Ava's, leading her toward the dining room. James followed, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. The table was set for 3, elegant but not overwhelming. Fresh flowers in the center, sunlight streaming through windows that overlooked the city. Eleanor seated Ava beside her. James took the chair across, close enough that their knees almost touched under the table. Staff brought course after course, each dish more beautiful than the last. But Ava barely tasted the food. She was too focused on Eleanor's hands, on the stories she told through signs and written notes, stories about James as a boy. Stubborn even then, how he'd learned sign language in 3 months through sheer determination. How he'd fired a teacher who suggested Eleanor should just read lips instead. I was 8, Eleanor wrote, showing Ava the words. He told the teacher that my way of communicating was perfect, that anyone who didn't like it could leave. And he meant it. Ava glanced at James. He was watching his mother with an expression so tender it made her chest ache. She's exaggerating, he said. I'm not, Eleanor signed emphatically. She turned to Ava, hands moving with maternal warmth. He's been protecting me his whole life. Sometimes too much, someone has to, James said quietly. The world isn't kind to people who are different. The world isn't kind, period, Ava said. But that doesn't mean we stop trying to be. James's eyes met hers across the table. That current again? Stronger now, undeniable. Eleanor watched them both with a knowing smile. She wrote something quickly, showed it to Ava. I like you more every minute. You're not afraid of him. Should I be? Ava signed back. Most people are. But you... Eleanor's hands moved thoughtfully. You see past the armor. That's rare. And dangerous. Dangerous how? Eleanor's smile widened. She didn't answer. Just patted Ava's hand and turned to her son. Her hands moved in rapid signs that Ava couldn't quite follow. James's jaw tightened. Mother, no! Eleanor signed something else, firmer. Absolutely not. Eleanor's hands flew faster, her expression brooking no argument. James rubbed his face, looking suddenly exhausted. You're impossible. What's happening? Ava asked. My mother, James said slowly, has decided that you need a better job than waitressing. She wants to offer you a position as her personal assistant. Ava's heart stopped. What? No, I can't. 25 an hour, James continued, voice flat. Full benefits. Flexible schedule. Mostly just keeping her company, helping her with correspondence, being someone she can talk to. Eleanor's hands moved urgently. Please say yes. I'm so lonely, Ava. I have money. I have a beautiful home. But I don't have connection. Not real connection. Not until you, the words hit Ava like a physical blow. This elegant woman, who had everything, was lonely, just like her. I don't know anything about being a personal assistant, Ava said weakly. You know sign language, Eleanor signed. You know kindness. That's all I need. James was watching Ava carefully. You don't have to decide now. Think about it, but Eleanor's eyes were so hopeful, so genuine. And Ava realized this wasn't charity. This was something else. Something real, 2 lonely women finding each other. Okay, Ava whispered. Yes, I'll do it. Eleanor's face transformed with joy. She pulled Ava into a fierce hug, and Ava felt something break open in her chest. Something she'd kept locked away for 24 years. The possibility of family. When Eleanor finally released her, there were tears on both their faces. James stood abruptly. I'll leave you two to discuss details. His voice was rough. I have calls to make. He left before either of them could respond. Eleanor watched him go, then turned to Ava with a conspiratorial smile. She wrote quickly, He's running because he's feeling too much. That's what he does. Runs from emotions he can't control. And what emotion is he running from? Ava asked. Eleanor's smile turned knowing. She wrote 2 words, you. Ava started working for Eleanor the following Monday. The transition was surreal. 1 week she was serving tables. The next she was living in a guest suite in the Whitmore penthouse. Eleanor had insisted. It's easier this way. The room is just sitting empty. James had been conspicuously absent during the move. Business trip, Eleanor signed when Ava asked. Tokyo, he'll be back Friday. But Ava wondered if it was really business, or if he was running. The days fell into a rhythm, mornings with Eleanor learning her preferences. She loved jasmine tea, old movies with subtitles, books about art history. She wrote constantly, observations about the world, memories, thoughts she wanted to preserve. Ava helped transcribe them, read to her, signed to her. The news each morning accompanied her to appointments, gallery openings, charity events. And slowly, something beautiful happened. They became family, not legally, but in the way that mattered. Eleanor taught Ava about wine, about art, about moving through wealthy spaces without apology. Ava taught Eleanor about resilience, about finding joy in small things, about the strength it takes to keep going. They laughed together, cried together, built something neither had expected. Trust Friday evening. Ava was reading in the library when she heard the elevator. Her heart kicked against her ribs. She knew that sound. The confident stride across marble. James was home. She told herself to stay calm, to act professional. She was Eleanor's assistant, nothing more. But when he appeared in the doorway, all those rational thoughts scattered. He looked exhausted, tie loosened, jacket over one shoulder, 5 o'clock shadow darkening his jaw. But his eyes went straight to her. You're still here, he said. I live here now. Ava marked her page. Your mother insisted? Of course she did. James moved into the room, poured himself a drink. How is she? Happy, really happy. Ava stood, needing to move. You were right about her being lonely. She felt so isolated, and now she has you. James took a slow sip, eyes never leaving her face. She calls you her miracle. I'm not a miracle. I'm just here. That's all she needed. Someone who shows up. He set the glass down. Most people don't. You show up, Ava said quietly. For her, every day, she's my mother. And you learned an entire language for her. Built your company so you could work near her. Rearranged your whole life. Ava moved closer. That's not obligation. That's love. Something shifted in James's expression. Vulnerability bleeding through. She showed me your calendar, Ava continued. Every Sunday. Lunch with Eleanor? For 5 years. Never missed once. You're going through my schedule? His tone was light, but she heard the question beneath. Your mother likes to brag, Ava smiled. Can you blame her? James laughed. A real laugh that transformed his face. She's biased. Maybe, but she's also right. They stood there, late afternoon sun painting everything gold. The air between them felt thick, charged with everything unsaid. Ava gestured toward the door. Let you rest, Ava. Her name stopped her. Why did you really say yes? To working for my mother? She turned back. Because she asked. Because she was lonely. Because I understand what it's like, Ava said softly. To have everything and nothing at the same time. To be surrounded by people but feel completely alone. She saw me. Really saw me? James moved closer. 1 step, 2, until he was right in front of her. Close enough that she could see the gold in his dark eyes. I see you too, he said quietly. Ava's breath caught. James, I ran, he continued. To Tokyo because being near you. He stopped, jaw clenching. I don't trust easily. My world is full of people who want something. But I don't want anything from you, I know. That's the problem. His hand lifted, hesitated, then gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Because it makes me want to give you everything. The touch sent electricity through her body. I'm your mother's assistant, Ava whispered. This is complicated. Everything worth having is complicated. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Tell me to stop. Tell me you don't feel this too. But Ava couldn't lie. I feel it, she breathed. James's eyes darkened. He leaned closer. Close enough that she could feel his breath. James. You're home, Eleanor's voice. Well, her hands slapping together. They sprang apart like guilty teenagers. Eleanor stood in the doorway, eyes sparkling with mischief. She signed something to James that made him close his eyes in exasperation. What did she say? Ava asked. She said dinner's ready. And that we're predictable. Eleanor grinned, unrepentant. She crooked her finger at them both. Family dinner, and maybe they would do this every day. Dinner was an intimate affair, just the three of them at a table meant for 12, candlelight flickering, the city glowing beyond the windows like scattered stars. Eleanor sat between them. Strategically, Ava suspected. Close enough to interpret, but far enough to give them space. Her eyes danced with matchmaking schemes she thought she was hiding. She wasn't hiding them at all. So, James said, cutting into his steak with surgical precision. Mother tells me you've been helping her with her memoir. Ava glanced at Eleanor, who smiled innocently. She has incredible stories. About growing up in Virginia, meeting your father, building the company together. Did she tell you about the time Dad proposed? James's lips curved. In a gas station parking lot. At 2 in the morning, Eleanor's hands moved rapidly, signing with animated enthusiasm. He was so nervous he forgot the ring at home. Had to propose with a twist tie from a bread bag. And you still said yes, Ava signed back, enchanted. Of course I did. Eleanor's expression softened with memory. Because it wasn't about the ring. It was about the man. About knowing, absolutely knowing, that he saw all of me, and loved what he saw. Her eyes moved between Ava and James meaningfully. James cleared his throat. Subtle, Mother. Eleanor signed something that made Ava laugh. A real unguarded sound that surprised her. James watched her with an expression that made her pulse quicken. What did she say? He asked. She said you got your romantic skills from your father. Which is to say, none at all. James's eyebrows shot up. I'm romantic. Name one romantic thing you've done, Ava challenged. I bought you a dress. That's expensive. Not romantic. I bought my mother's assistant a job so she'd have Sundays free. Also expensive. Still not romantic. Ava was enjoying this. The easy banter, the warmth in his eyes. Eleanor watched them like someone watching her favorite show. She signed to Ava. He also had your favorite books delivered to your room. First editions. Thought you wouldn't notice. Ava's breath caught. She turned to James. You did? He shifted uncomfortably. You mentioned them. In passing. During lunch. I thought, that's romantic, Ava said softly. Their eyes held across the table. That current between them. Stronger now. Undeniable. Eleanor stood, signing with exaggerated tiredness. I'm exhausted, old age. I'll leave you two to finish dinner. Mother, you're 65, James said. And you have the energy of someone half your age. Tonight, I'm ancient. She kissed them both. Lingered with Ava, hands moving in a private sign. Give him a chance. Under all that armor, he's terrified. Of feeling too much. Of losing what matters. Then she was gone. Leaving them alone in candlelight and silence. James poured more wine. His movements careful, controlled. But Ava could see the tension in his shoulders. She's not subtle, he said finally. No, but she loves you. Ava accepted the glass. And she wants you happy. What about you? James's eyes found hers. What do you want? The question hung between them. Heavy with possibility, Ava thought about lying. About keeping things professional, safe. But Eleanor's words echoed. Give him a chance, I want... She took a breath. I want to understand this. Whatever this is between us. I want to stop pretending I don't think about you. That I don't wait for the sound of the elevator. That I don't feel my heart race when you walk into a room. James went very still. Ava, but I'm scared, she continued. Because in 6 weeks, you've given me more than I've had in 24 years. A job, a home, a family. And if this goes wrong, I lose all of it. I lose Eleanor. I lose the first place I've ever felt like I belonged. James stood, moved around the table. He knelt beside her chair. Took her hands in his. His touch was warm. Steady. You won't lose my mother, he said firmly. Whatever happens between us, that relationship is yours. She loves you independently of me. I see the way she looks at you, like you're the daughter she always wanted. Tears stung Ava's eyes. And what about you? How do you look at me? James's thumb traced circles on her palm, like you're the only real thing in my manufactured world. Like you're dangerous and necessary and… He stopped, jaw clenching. Like I'm terrified of how much I want you in my life. Just in your life? Ava whispered, his eyes darkened. Everywhere. In my mornings, my evenings. My thoughts. My future. He stood, pulling her up with him. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But Ava, I haven't felt anything real in years. Not until you. They stood there. Close enough to kiss. Close enough that Ava could feel the heat of him. So what do we do? She asked. We stop running. James cupped her face gently. We stop pretending. We see where this goes. And if it crashes, then we crash together. His forehead touched hers. But I don't think it will. Why not? Because you're not like anyone I've ever met. And I'm not letting you go without a fight. Ava's heart hammered. That sounds like a promise. It is, James breathed, and closed the distance between them. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, like they were both testing the reality of this moment. Then James's hand slid into her hair, and everything changed. The kiss deepened, became urgent, necessary. Years of loneliness meeting years of isolation. Two people who'd built walls finally letting them crumble. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, James rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the moment I saw you in that green dress, he admitted. Just the dress? Ava's voice was shaky. No. His thumb traced her jaw. Since the restaurant. Since you signed to my mother like it was the most natural thing in the world. Since you looked at me without fear, just saw me. Ava's heart felt too big for her chest. I'm still scared. Good, me too. James pulled back enough to meet her eyes. But I'm more scared of walking away, of wondering what if. So what happens now? She asked. Now we take this slow. Figure it out together. James smiled. Starting tomorrow. I'm taking you somewhere. Where? It's a surprise. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Wear something comfortable. We're leaving at 8, James. Trust me, he said simply. And somehow, she did. Ava barely slept that night. She lay in her room staring at the ceiling, her lips still tingling, her mind replaying every moment. This was happening. Really happening. At 7:30 she was dressed. Jeans, simple sweater. Her reflection looked nervous, but happy. James was waiting by the elevator. Dark jeans, leather jacket. His eyes lit up when he saw her. Ready? He asked. Ava took his hand and felt everything shift into place. They drove north, out of the city, into rolling hills dotted with vineyards. James drove with one hand on the wheel, the other holding hers. They talked about everything. Books, music, dreams that never came true. After an hour, he pulled into a long driveway. At the end, a sprawling property, stables, paddocks, horses grazing in morning light. Ava's breath caught. What is this? A rescue ranch. James parked, turned to her. For horses that were abused or neglected. They rehabilitate them here. Give them a second chance. Tears stung Ava's eyes. Why are we here? Because my mother told me you wanted to volunteer at an animal shelter growing up. But the group homes never allowed it. James squeezed her hand. So I thought, maybe this could be a start. Ava couldn't speak. This man had listened, had remembered, had cared enough to act. The owner's a friend, James continued. She said you could come anytime, volunteer if you want. I want, Ava whispered. I really want, James smiled. Good, because there's someone I want you to meet. He led her to a paddock where a horse stood alone. Dark coat, scarred legs, eyes that held old pain. This is Shadow, James said quietly. Someone abandoned her, left her tied up without food or water. By the time they found her, she didn't trust anyone anymore. Ava moved slowly to the fence. Shadow watched her, wary but curious. I've been visiting her, James admitted. For months. Just sitting here, talking, trying to show her not all people are cruel. Has it worked? Sometimes. She lets me brush her now. On good days, he looked at Ava. I thought maybe you'd understand her, what it's like to rebuild trust after it's been shattered. Ava's vision blurred. She understood perfectly. The walls you build, the fear of letting anyone close, the hope that maybe someone will prove you wrong. She climbed the fence slowly, sat on the top rail, made herself small, non-threatening. Shadow watched her for long minutes. Then, slowly, walked closer. Ava held out her hand, palm up, offering nothing but presence. Shadow sniffed, stepped back. Sniffed again, then gently. So gently, touched her nose to Ava's palm. Ava exhaled shakily. Hi, beautiful girl. I see you. And you're safe now, James watched them. And something in his expression made Ava realize this wasn't just about the horse. This was about both of them. Learning to trust again. Learning that safe people exist. Learning that love doesn't always come with conditions. They spent hours at the ranch. Shadow stayed close to Ava, following her around the paddock, letting her stroke the scarred legs, the broken places that had healed wrong but healed nonetheless. James watched from the fence, silent, his expression unguarded in a way Ava had never seen before. When the sun started dipping toward the horizon, painting everything gold and amber, he finally spoke. You're good with her. Ava looked back at him. She just needed someone to be patient. To not give up when she pushed away. Like you, James said quietly, like both of us. Ava moved to the fence, climbed over to stand beside him. We're all a little broken, James. The question is whether we let someone help us heal. He turned to face her fully. Is that what you're doing? Helping me heal? Maybe. Are you helping me? I'm trying. His hand found hers. Every day I'm trying. They stood there as the sun set. Two broken people learning to be whole together, learning that healing doesn't happen alone. Ava, James said finally. There's something I need to tell you. Her heart stuttered. Okay, when I first met you, I had you investigated. He said it quickly, like ripping off a bandage. Full background check. Financial history, everything. Ava pulled her hand back. You what? I know. It's invasive. It's wrong. James ran a hand through his hair. But in my world, trust is a luxury I can't afford. People want things from me, money, access. They lie about who they are. So you assumed I was lying too. Yes. He met her eyes. And I was wrong. Everything you told me was true. The group homes, the struggle, the loneliness. You're exactly who you said you were. Ava's jaw tightened. And that surprised you? It shocked me, James admitted. Because genuine people don't exist in my circles. But you do. You're real. And that terrifies me. Why? Because I can't protect myself from you. His voice was raw. I can't build walls or maintain distance. You just walk right through every defense I have. Ava studied him. The vulnerability in his eyes, the fear beneath the confession. He expected her to be angry. To walk away, maybe she should be angry. But all she felt was understanding. I grew up in a system that taught me everyone leaves, she said slowly. That trust is stupid. That hoping for more is setting yourself up for disappointment. So I built walls too. Told myself I was fine alone. And now? Now I'm standing here with a man who investigated me but is honest about it. Who brought me to a rescue ranch because he remembered something I mentioned once. Who looks at me like I matter. Ava stepped closer. So yeah, I'm scared too. But I'm not running. James exhaled shakily. You should. You should run far away from me. Too late. Ava took his face in her hands. I already started falling. His eyes closed. Ava, I see you, James, all of you. The protective son. The suspicious billionaire. The man who visits a broken horse every week just to show her humans can be kind. Her thumbs traced his cheekbones. And I'm not going anywhere. When he opened his eyes, they were bright with unshed tears. I don't deserve you. Maybe not. But you've got me anyway. James pulled her close, held her like she was something precious, something that might disappear if he let go. They stood there as darkness fell, as stars began appearing overhead. Two damaged souls finding safety in each other. Come on, James said finally. Let's go home. Home, the words settled in Ava's chest. Warm and right. They drove back in comfortable silence. James's hand never left hers. When they reached the penthouse, Eleanor was waiting in the living room. One look at their faces and she smiled knowingly. Her hands moved in quick signs. Good day? The best, Ava signed back. Eleanor stood, kissed them both on the cheek, then signed something to James that made him laugh. A real unguarded sound. What did she say? Ava asked. She said I better not mess this up, or she's disowning me and keeping you. Eleanor nodded emphatically. then winked and disappeared toward her room, leaving them alone again. James turned to Ava. "She's right, you know. I can't mess this up." "Then don't." Ava moved closer. "Just be honest. Be present. Be you. That simple?" "That's simple," James smiled. Leaned down, kissed her softly, a promise of more to come. When he pulled back, his eyes held something new, something that looked like hope. "Stay," he whispered. "Not in the guest room. Stay with me." Ava's heart raced. "James, just to sleep, just let me hold you." His hand cupped her face. "I need to know this is real." And Ava, who'd spent her whole life sleeping alone, nodded. That night, wrapped in James's arms, Ava slept better than she had in her entire life. She woke to sunlight streaming through windows, to the sound of James's steady breathing, to the feeling of being exactly where she belonged. The weeks that followed were a blur of happiness. James taught her about his business, introduced her to his world. Eleanor taught her about family, about belonging. Together they built something none of them had expected, a real home. Ava still worked as Eleanor's assistant, but now it felt less like a job and more like spending time with the mother she'd always wanted. They laughed together, cried together, built memories that would last forever, and James was everything she'd never known she needed. Attentive, present, real. He showed up every single day. He took her to the ranch every weekend. Watched her bond with Shadow. Saw her come alive in ways she never had before. The broken horse and the broken girl, healing each other. 2 months after that first kiss, he took her back to the Laurel, the restaurant where everything had started. "Why are we here?" Ava asked as they walked in. The entire staff was waiting. Darcy, the manager. Everyone who'd watched Ava save Eleanor that day. Everyone who'd doubted her. James led her to table 7. Where it all began, he turned to face her and dropped to one knee. Ava's hands flew to her mouth. "James, what are you doing?" "Something I should have done the day you saved my mother's life." He pulled out a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. "Ava, you walked into my world and changed everything. You showed me that trust is possible, that love doesn't have to hurt, that family isn't about blood, it's about choice." Tears streamed down Ava's face. "I'm choosing you," James continued. His voice cracked with emotion. "Every day, every moment, for the rest of my life." He looked up at her with eyes full of love. "Will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my family?" The restaurant held its breath. Ava looked at this man, this beautiful, broken, healing man who'd seen her. Really seen her? Who'd given her family, home, love, everything she'd ever dreamed of and more. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, 1,000 times yes. I'll marry you." The restaurant erupted in applause. James slid the ring on her finger with trembling hands, stood, pulled her into a kiss that promised forever. When they broke apart, Eleanor was there. Tears streaming down her face. Her hands moved in signs Ava now understood perfectly. "Welcome to the family, my daughter. My beautiful daughter. Daughter." The word Ava had waited 24 years to hear. She pulled Eleanor into a fierce hug, felt arms that would never let go. Then James wrapped his arms around them both, his 2 favorite people, his entire world, a family, imperfect, unexpected, beautifully real. Darcy stood in the corner watching. For once, she was smiling. I guess the charity case got her fairy tale after all. But Ava barely heard her. She was too busy looking at her future, at the man who'd changed everything, at the mother who'd chosen her, at the life she'd built from nothing but hope and kindness. Sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected moments. Sometimes saving someone else saves you too. And sometimes, love finds you exactly when you've stopped looking for it. If you loved Ava and James's story, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next heartwarming tale. Leave a like if this story touched your heart, and drop a comment below telling us what moment made you emotional. Did the proposal get you? The moment with Shadow. Your support helps us create more stories about love, hope, and second chances. Thank you for being part of our community.